My parents lied about being broke before Black Friday, then posted my sister's haul online. So I made sure that was their last flex ever. I'm a 19-year-old guy, and I've always been the one doing the heavy lifting in my family, literally and emotionally. If there was trash to take out, a broken pipe to fix, groceries to carry, or anything remotely inconvenient, I was the default option. My parents didn't ask, they expected. Like I owed them for the air I breathed. My sister Riley is a year younger than me. She's the golden one. Pretty, popular, loud in a way people call charming. She never had to do chores growing up, just smiled, pouted, and got whatever she wanted. I used to joke that she was the daughter of the house while I was staff, only it wasn't really a joke. I remember one evening when I was 14, our water heater broke, and my dad had me hold a flashlight for 3 hours while he cursed under the sink. My back ached, my arms were shaking, and I missed my homework deadline. Riley? She was upstairs FaceTiming her friends. My mom walked by, heard me sigh, and snapped, "Quit whining. Your father's teaching you to be useful." That was the moment it started sinking in. I wasn't being raised, I was being used. Still, I kept trying to earn their love. I got a job at 17, gave up weekends to help around the house, stayed up late to tutor Riley when she slacked off. And every time I hoped, this time they'll see me. This time they'll say, "We're proud of you," but it never came. This story isn't just about favoritism. It's about betrayal. About the day I finally realized they weren't broke. They were just saving their love, money, and attention. For her. And what I did when I couldn't take it anymore. Thanksgiving came around and things felt off. Not in a loud, obvious way, but in the quiet, heavy kind of way that made your gut twist before your brain caught up. It was the Tuesday before Black Friday when my parents sat me down at the kitchen table. The lights were dim, and my dad rubbed his temples like he was carrying the weight of the world. "Son," he sighed, "things are tight right now." "Really tight," my mom chimed in, saying that rent had gone up, the electric bill was overdue, and that we might have to scale back Christmas this year. She looked right into my eyes as she said it. "Don't expect anything under the tree, okay? We just can't afford it." I remember nodding slowly, guilt already curling in my stomach. They didn't ask Riley to join the talk. She was upstairs blasting music. They didn't mention her once, then came the soft suggestion. "If you're still working those warehouse shifts," my mom said gently, "maybe you can help with a few groceries this week?" She didn't say it like a demand, but it wasn't a request either. Just the usual guilt sandwich. I swallowed the lump in my throat and said, "Yeah, I can do that." What else could I say? I didn't want to be selfish. I'd just gotten my paycheck and was planning to use it to buy a used laptop I'd been saving up for, but groceries came first, right? Family first. Always. As I left the table, I passed by Riley's room. She was laughing on the phone, something about what I'm getting on Friday. I paused for a second. But I told myself maybe she doesn't know yet. Maybe we're all tightening belts this year. I really believe that. Black Friday morning hit like a punch to the chest. My alarm went off at 4:15 a.m., and for a moment I just lay there staring at the ceiling. My whole body screamed for more sleep. But the warehouse shift started at 5, and if you were late, no pay, no second chances. The streets were still soaked from rain, and the air had that sharp, metallic chill that cuts through your jacket. I walked to the bus stop alone, my breath fogging in front of me. The city looked like it was still asleep, except for the swarm of cars heading toward the mall. People were already lining up for deals, dragging their kids in pajamas and folding chairs. The warehouse was chaos. Everyone was frantic, managers barking orders, temp workers running into each other, and boxes flying left and right. I spent 10 straight hours lifting pallets, dragging carts, unloading shipment trucks, and stocking shelves while customers tore through them. I didn't even have time to eat. I grabbed a granola bar from my pocket and bit into it between 2 runs. My hands were numb, my back ached, and at some point my legs stopped registering pain. They just moved on autopilot. I told myself the same thing over and over. This is for the family. They're struggling. Be the man. Do your part. My manager asked if I could stay late. I nodded before I even thought it through. Another 2 hours, another $40. I just pictured my mom looking tired, my dad stressed out, Riley with her usual careless smirk. I had to hold this together. That's what I do, right? I hold things together. When I finally clocked out, I sat on the curb outside the warehouse. My fingers were shaking too hard to unlock my phone. But when I did, everything changed. I was sitting on the cold concrete curb, head pounding, body aching, waiting for the last bus home. I opened Instagram just to scroll and numb my brain. I wasn't expecting anything. I just wanted distraction, and then I saw it, right at the top, Riley's story. 22 seconds of pure, unfiltered betrayal. First clip, a massive Sephora haul laid out across her bed. Dozens of bags, sleek black boxes, highlighters, lip kits, and skincare sets. Caption, Black Friday Queen. Swipe. Second clip, a pair of UGG boots next to the newest iPad. Her hand flashing a Cartier bracelet. Real or fake, I don't even know. Caption, thanks mom and dad, one spoiled, one car blessed. My heart stopped. My thumb hovered over the screen. I watched the clips again. And again. And again. The girl who wasn't even at the kitchen table when our parents said we were broke. Just posted over $1,000 worth of designer stuff with a thank you shout out to the same people who told me they couldn't afford milk without my help. I sat there frozen, breathing so shallow it felt like I might pass out. The cold on my skin didn't matter anymore. All I could feel was heat building in my chest, rage, confusion, betrayal, all fighting for space. I wanted to believe it was a joke. Maybe it was old footage. Maybe she bought it herself. But then the next post hit. A video of my mom handing Riley a gift bag, both of them laughing on camera. My stomach twisted. My fingers clenched. All day, I'd been moving crates and choking on dust to help save the family. Meanwhile, they were out spoiling the person who never lifts a damn finger. That's the moment something inside me cracked. Not like glass, like ice. I didn't storm into the house that night. I didn't yell. I walked in quiet, too quiet, and dropped my bag by the door. My arms felt like rubber, but my blood was hot. I went straight to the kitchen where my mom was unloading groceries, humming like she didn't just emotionally bankrupt her son. Where'd all this come from? I asked, pointing at the full fridge. She didn't miss a beat. I found a good sale. Had to make it stretch. Then she added, Did you grab eggs like I asked earlier? Like I was still on duty. I stared at her. Riley posted her haul. Her hands froze midair. What? I saw the bags. The makeup, the iPad. You gave her an iPad, Mom. You told me we couldn't afford milk. She blinked fast, then scoffed. Why are you getting so worked up? Riley's had a rough year. She deserves a little joy. A rough year? I repeated. You mean the year where she skipped school, failed 2 classes, and crashed Dad's car? Don't take that tone, my dad snapped, walking in from the hallway. You're not some martyr just because you work a part-time job, I laughed. Actually laughed. Because I realized in that moment, they didn't care about fairness. They never had. They just cared about maintaining Riley's fantasy life and keeping me quiet enough to power it. You asked me to cover groceries because we were broke, I said. But you weren't broke. You just didn't want to spend anything on me. My mom crossed her arms. You're being dramatic. That was her favorite line, always had been. Anytime I pointed out the imbalance, I was dramatic, too sensitive, or ungrateful. But this time, I didn't swallow it. I just walked to my room and started thinking about all the things they never wanted me to find. My room was dark except for the glow of my laptop. I sat on the edge of my bed, fists clenched, replaying everything in my head. The lies, the manipulation, the casual way they used me like a backup generator, only noticed when they needed power. Then I remembered something. Months ago, my mom had borrowed my laptop to check her email. She wasn't tech-savvy and had me log her in. I never deleted her info. I opened the browser, clicked into saved logins. There it was, her email. Logged in with one click. I shouldn't have done it. But I was too far past caring. There were newsletters, order confirmations, boring admin junk, until I saw an email subject line, account statement, November. My heart started pounding. I clicked. It was a joint savings account. Not mine, not ours. Hers, with Riley. The name on the account, Riley's Future Fund. The balance? $19,482.37. I stared at it like it might change if I blinked hard enough. Almost 10 grand set aside for Riley. A separate email showed transfers, $200 here, $500 there, going back for over a year. All while I was being guilt-tripped over grocery money and skipped birthdays. I dug deeper. Found another account. This one was just under my mom's name. About $6,000. I sat there shaking, not from shock, but from how stupid I felt. They weren't broke. They were just selective. Selective with their kindness. Selective with their honesty.
Selective with their generosity.
I thought about my half-broken phone, my duct-taped shoes, the second-hand laptop I was still saving up for, and then I thought about Riley's iPad and gold bracelet. I had spent years trying to earn their respect, but they were never planning to give it. They were just storing it away for her. That's when something inside me shifted from hurt to fury. The anger didn't let me sleep that night. I lay there in the dark, eyes wide open, watching shadows crawl across the ceiling like the lies I'd been swallowing for years. Around 2 a.m., I got up and started digging through the filing cabinet in the hallway closet. The one labeled House Papers Do Not Touch. I touched it, buried beneath old utility bills and expired insurance papers. I found a folder labeled Lease Agreement, 2022. I opened it, expecting my dad's name. Maybe my mom's, but right there on the front page under Tenants was my full name. I blinked hard. Thought it was a mistake, but page after page confirmed it. I had co-signed our lease, only I never remembered signing anything. Not really. Then it hit me. Last year, my dad had asked me to sign something real quick while I was on my way out the door to work. He said it was an internet plan change and waved a paper in front of me, pointing to a line. I was half-dressed, running late, and didn't read it. I signed. They used me. Not just emotionally, but legally. They had bad credit, both of them. I remembered overhearing them talk about it months ago, whispering about credit checks and being denied. And instead of fixing their mess, they threw their 18-year-old into it like I was some disposable identity. My heart pounded so loud I could barely hear my own thoughts. This wasn't just betrayal. It was fraud. I went back to my room, dug up my bank paperwork, credit reports, everything. And yeah, my credit history had a rental line I'd never agreed to. They didn't just lie to me. They signed me away to cover their lies. And suddenly, this wasn't just about Riley's haul anymore. It was about burning the whole illusion to the ground. After the lease discovery, I couldn't look at them the same. Every good morning, every can you take the trash out, every forced family dinner, it all felt like performance art. Fake smiles, fake gratitude, fake everything. But the one thing they never faked? Their flexes. Riley posted like her life depended on it. Not just stories, full-blown TikToks. Her Black Friday haul became a mini-series, GRWM with my new products, unboxing my new iPad, POV, your parents spoil you because you're worth it. The worst part? People actually ate it up. Comments flooded in. OMG, your parents are goals. I wish my family loved me like this. You're so lucky. Your brother must be jealous, LOL. I watched it all from behind a burner account, my teeth grinding so hard it gave me a headache. I wanted to scream at them, at everyone, that it was all a lie. That the so-called lucky girl was sitting on top of a throne built on guilt trips and exploitation. And then I realized I didn't have to scream. I just had to show them. I started collecting everything. Screenshots of her posts, the lease agreement with my name, the savings account details, even old texts where my mom accidentally revealed her Riley fund plan to a friend and mocked me for being too sensitive. It wasn't revenge I wanted. Not exactly, I wanted exposure. I wanted truth, and I wanted to take away the one thing they worshipped more than money, their image. So I created a private Instagram page under a fake name. I posted nothing at first. Just followed people from school, old teachers, neighbors, quietly built a following, and then I started preparing the first post. Side by side, Riley's iPad unboxing next to an audio clip from our We're Broke Thanksgiving talk I had secretly recorded on my phone. If I was the forgotten one, I'd make damn sure they never forgot what they did to me. The night before I went live with the post, I hit rock bottom. I don't say that lightly. I'd been humiliated, used, lied to, but this was different. This wasn't just about family anymore. It was about identity. I sat on the floor of my room, the only light coming from my laptop, and felt like I didn't exist outside of what they needed me for. Labor, silence, a name to sign documents with. I scrolled through my old texts with my mom. So many can you do me a favor messages. So many guilt trips wrapped in praise. You're so responsible, unlike Riley. A compliment meant to divide, not uplift. And the worst part? I had believed it all, believed that if I kept giving, they'd finally love me the way they loved her. I looked at myself in the mirror that night and barely recognized the person staring back. Dark circles, stress acne, shoulders hunched like I was permanently bracing for impact. I was 19 and I felt 70. Then I heard it, through the thin walls. My dad laughing in the living room. "She's gonna go viral," he said. "People love that spoiled brat princess energy. We'll ride this into some brand deals if we play it right." They weren't just ignoring what they did. They were planning around it. That's when something flipped. I stood up, wiped my face, and opened my phone. I posted the reel. No names, no faces, just the facts. Riley's haul clips on the left. My mom's "we're broke" voice on the right. The caption? "Some parents play favorites." Mine turned it into a lifestyle. I hit post. Threw my phone across the bed and waited. Not for likes. Not for followers. For impact. By the time I woke up, the reel had over 12,000 views. My heart pounded as I scrolled through the comments. This is sickening. People like this should be exposed. Wow, the favoritism is real. I think I know who this is. Somehow that last one hit the hardest. Because that was the point. I didn't need to name names. Everyone in our community, our school, our neighborhood already knew. They just hadn't seen the receipts until now. By noon, the page had blown up. People were DMing me stories. One girl said she remembered Riley bragging about how "my brother pays bills while I get paid in lashes," and "Louie?" Another guy sent me a screenshot of a group chat where Riley was mocking me for still wearing Payless shoes in 2023. It was working, but I didn't stop there. I posted again. This time, screenshots of the bank account titled "Riley's Future Fund." No private account numbers. Just enough to show the amounts and dates. Next to that, I posted a clip of my dad asking me to help cover groceries because "we're drowning, son." I layered every post with dates, timestamps, facts. No emotion. Just evidence. Let the internet draw its own conclusions. The messages got nastier. People calling Riley entitled, "My parents' next-level manipulators." Someone even tagged a local parenting forum, and that thread exploded too. I stayed silent. Didn't defend. Didn't gloat. I just watched, and while the internet was busy dissecting my life, my parents were blissfully unaware, still thinking their golden girl was rising to influencer stardom. They didn't know I'd turned the camera around. They didn't know I was done being quiet, and they had no clue what was coming next. Confrontation they couldn't delete. By the time my parents noticed something was off, the damage was already done. It was Riley who cracked first. She stormed into the house mid-afternoon, slammed her bedroom door, and screamed into a pillow so loud I could hear it from down the hall. A minute later, my mom's voice pierced the silence. "What's going on? Someone's exposing us." Riley shrieked. Everyone at school saw it. People are DMing me, laughing at me. I heard footsteps, doors opening, then silence. My phone buzzed again. Another 100 notifications. The second reel, about the savings account, was now nearing 40,000 views. People were sharing it with captions like, "This is why some kids go no contact. How do parents even justify this? The brother deserves a peace fund of his own. Our hometown isn't huge." Word spreads fast. Old neighbors started posting vague statuses on Facebook. My dad's coworker commented on one, "Isn't this about your buddy Mark's family?" That evening, my dad stomped into my room. "No knock, just fury. Is this you?" He held out his phone, showing my reel. I didn't flinch. Everything in that video is true. He turned red. "You're humiliating this family." "No," I said quietly. "You did that." "I just stopped hiding it," he sputtered, looking for a threat. But I could see it in his eyes. He knew. The world saw him now. Not as a provider, not as a hero, as a manipulator, a thief of trust. My mom tried the guilt angle. "You're breaking this family apart." "It was already broken," I replied. I just stopped taping it back together. They had spent years building a lie. I'd torn it down in days, and Riley? She deleted everything. Her haul, her captions, even the apology post she tried to sneak out blaming online bullying. But it was too late. The internet had smelled the truth, and it was hungry. I knew I needed closure, not the kind that came in silence, but the kind that hits like a door slam. So I set my phone on my desk, angled just right, and hit record. No lights, no filters, no edits. Just the truth. I called them into my room. My dad entered first, arms crossed. My mom followed, face tight like she'd rehearsed her concern. Riley dragged her feet in last, eyes already rolled. I didn't wait. I turned the laptop screen toward them, opened to the lease agreement with my name. You used my identity to co-sign the lease, I said. My dad scoffed. It was a necessity. We needed a roof. You lied to me, I cut in. Told me it was internet paperwork. You committed fraud, Dad. That's not a necessity. That's a felony. My mom started crying, like clockwork. You don't understand how hard it's been. I pulled up the savings account. Oh, I understand. I understand that you've been saving thousands for Riley while asking me for grocery money. Riley's mouth dropped open. You went through our stuff? No, I said. I went through my stuff. The laptop you borrowed. The lease you made me sign. The life you wrapped around me without my consent. My dad's face twisted. You really think airing our dirty laundry online is going to fix anything? I looked straight into the phone's camera. Sometimes the only way to clean filth is to drag it into the light. They fell silent. No apologies. Just a stunned, hateful silence that said everything. After they left the room, I ended the recording. And I posted it. Captioned, "Gaslighting only works if the lights stay off." That video exploded. It hit 100,000 views in under 24 hours. People didn't just sympathize. They rallied. They understood, and me. I didn't care if I lost my family, because truth is, they were never really mine to begin with. The video wasn't just a viral hit, it was a fuse. And I had lit the match. The next morning, my inbox was flooded. DMs, emails, even a message from someone who worked at the leasing agency. She said she saw the video and recognized the form. If you didn't knowingly sign that lease, then she wrote, you can file a fraud report. And you should. I did. It took 2 hours on the phone, but when I told them everything, the false signature, the manipulation, the recordings, they flagged the account. I was advised to file an identity theft affidavit. I did that too. 2 days later, my parents received a formal notice. The lease renewal would require new tenants. In other words, my name was no longer bailing them out. If they wanted to stay, they had to do it without dragging me down with them. They were furious. My dad slammed doors, cursed into the air. My mom cried again, but this time it didn't feel like guilt. It felt like loss of control. They tried to flip the script, accusing me of betraying my own blood, of airing personal issues for clout. But the internet wasn't buying it. The receipts were too strong, the story too raw. People sided with me. Strangers wrote things like, "This isn't betrayal. This is survival. This kid protected himself." Full stop. Then came the real kicker. My dad's workplace got wind of the drama. Someone forwarded the lease video to HR. He wasn't fired, but he was moved. No more speaking gigs, no leadership training roles. Just desk duty. For once, the consequences weren't landing on me. They were landing exactly where they belonged, and for the first time in years, I felt something unexpected. Freedom. Once the fallout began, I knew I couldn't stick around and wait for another emotional ambush. These people weren't going to change. They were just going to get better at hiding things. So I started planning my escape. Quietly, precisely, like a man disarming a bomb he'd lived with his whole life. First, I moved my college savings to a private bank account they didn't know existed. I'd opened it the moment I turned 18, just never used it, until now. Then I locked my credit, placed a fraud alert, froze every financial trace that linked me to them. Next, I messaged my cousin Darren, the only family member who ever treated me like a human being. He offered me his spare room with no questions asked. "Just bring snacks and don't hog the bathroom," he joked. That was more love than I'd gotten at home in years. I didn't tell my parents I was leaving. I just packed my essentials one night while they were asleep. No drama, no goodbye. Just a silent walk out the front door with my duffel bag slung over my shoulder and my dignity still intact. I blocked them. Phone, social media, email. I even changed my number. Not out of spite, but out of necessity. I couldn't heal in a place that kept reopening the wound. That first night in Darren's guest room, I laid down on a mattress that smelled like laundry and Doritos. I stared at the ceiling, unsure whether to laugh, cry, or both. I wasn't anyone's errand boy anymore. I wasn't their scapegoat. I wasn't their backup plan. I was just me, and for the first time in 19 years, that was enough. About 6 months passed. Long enough for the dust to settle, but not long enough for the sting to fully fade. I was healing slowly, eating regularly, sleeping without flinching at every text ping, actually laughing at dumb YouTube videos without guilt gripping my chest. One night, I got a DM from a girl I vaguely remembered from school, someone who used to hype Riley's every post. "Hey, just wanted to say your story really stuck with me. Your parents don't post anymore. Everyone forgot about them. Kinda poetic." I stared at her message for a long moment, letting it sink in. It was true. The once nonstop family goals feed had gone dead silent. No more haul videos. No mommy and me skincare routines. No smug captions about blessings and brunches, just radio silence. I went back and checked Riley's profile. She had archived most of her content. Her follower count had tanked. Her comments were closed. Whatever illusion they were selling, it had been returned to sender. There was no dramatic downfall. No public meltdown. Just a slow fade into irrelevance. A silence louder than any scream. I used to think revenge had to be fire and fury. But this? This was colder, sharper. Watching them shrink into shadows, knowing the power they used to hold over me was gone, and this time, I had taken it. It wasn't about humiliation anymore. It was about truth. And the truth was they built their image on my silence, and I ended it. Now when people talk about family, I don't think of DNA. I think of Darren, of late-night cereal, of peace. I think of all the noise that used to drown me and how beautiful the quiet is without them. Sometimes I lie in bed and wonder how different my life would have been if they'd just treated me like a person instead of a pawn. If they had said, "We're proud of you," instead of, "You owe us." But that version of life never existed, not for me. And honestly, I don't regret a thing. Everything they did, every lie, every manipulation, every cold shoulder, built the fire in me to finally walk away. And everything I did, every night shift, every chore, every ounce of silence I swallowed, was proof that I was always enough. Even when they refused to see it, they still haven't reached out. Not really. A couple of half-hearted emails came through a month ago, like feelers. Vague lines like, "Hope you're doing well. Let's put the past behind us." But you know what stood out the most? No apologies. No accountability. Just a subtle plea to erase the consequences. I didn't reply, not because I'm bitter, but because I'm free. And freedom, once you taste it, doesn't come with a return policy. These days, I spend holidays with people who actually see me. I go to Darren's place, play board games with his roommates, cook garbage pasta, and laugh until my stomach hurts. I started journaling again. Even went to therapy. Not because I'm broken, but because I'm rebuilding. Stronger, smarter, untouchable. I know someone out there will hear this story and see themselves in it. To you, I want to say this. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't have to bleed to be loved. Sometimes the only way to stop drowning is to swim away from the shore entirely. That's what I did, and I don't regret a thing.